Market update here on the 12th. This video is just going to be the indexes. In my opinion, I'm really leaning towards this being a straight melt up from here and no additional pullback here. Let me zoom out here actually first. So we looking at this chart right here. I've shown you the long-term chart. You can go back in the video, or like the videos probably like a month ago. I went over the long-term chart. I have this as the final. So we're in the final wave higher, and then we're in the wave 5 of that final wave. So we're at the very end stages of this bull market, going back to the early 1900s actually. If you go back all the way on SPX, you can see it. So we're at the very end stages of that, and we have wave 1, wave 2, and then I have this as wave 1. This is an alt count right here, which I don't think is going to happen. We have wave 1 here, wave 2, wave 3, and then the question is wave 4 finished, or are we going to have one more drop? Those are the two possibilities right now. And then we're going to see a fifth wave higher. So now zooming in, we got that drop, and everyone said that was going to be the start of the drop, including myself. I was like, oh, it's probably definitely going to come down here. But then when it started moving up around in this area, I was saying there's a good chance that this is going to keep on melting up to at least right here. And then we started melting up more, and I was looking at it more, and I was like, they're probably just going to melt this up. They're not even going to have a bigger fourth wave. Makes a lot more sense to me, and it does keep on going up. And at this point, if this is going to be WXY, it hit the 1.61 fib. It's going to have to drop this week. So this is going to have to turn into an impulse. Something like that. It's going to have to happen. And I personally don't see it. I've looked at some other charts, and I don't see it that much. But we'll see. So if this is what I think it is, we have wave 1 here, wave 2, sub wave 1, wave 2, and I think we might have just hit wave 3. You can see the 1.61 fib actually is a little bit below that, and we're starting to dip now. So I know this is wave 4 right here. So this is probably wave 5 right here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of red tomorrow, or you might see a little bit of a melt up to new high, maybe 525.7, and then a pullback. So I'm looking for a wave 4. We can look at some of the zones that you can go to. See if there's any good daily demand zones. That's not a good zone. The next daily demand zone is actually way down here. But if that were to happen, then that means that this is a C wave. So I'm not looking for this to hit. So let's go down on time frames. Let's just say we go up to 525. Probably looking for a pullback to 5200. So I'm looking for, I can get rid of this actually. I'm looking for a pullback to 5200. I don't see any good demand zones there though. Nothing that good. We broke below that one. There's no good demand zones on there. So let's look at the moving averages then. So we have the 50 above the 20. 20 is coming back up. Would like to see that cross. The 50 is too low for a pullback though. The 200 is way lower. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm not sure on the weekly. Yeah, so we'll just see when it pulls back. I don't see any good. There's no good demand zone, so I can't really say on where that's going to go to, but 5200 would be my target. So it'd be looking like this. And then ABC pullback, and then a new high after that. So we'll see if that happens. I would be looking for $53.40 for the third wave to end. And it could go much higher too. This is a projection. Actually, my projection for the third wave ending is actually 6,000. So let's just go ahead and get the projection based on this wave. It's going to be much lower, obviously. So yeah, it's going to end up being, this is not going to be a good projection. I don't need to do this really. This is saying like 5,500. So we'll see how it goes. But I think we're in the middle of a melt up. It's got to get through this demand zone though. 52.63 is the top. It's got to get through that. Look for a pullback early in the week, whether we make a new high and then pull back, or we just start pulling back right here. And again, like I said, there is still the possibility of it coming down, but I'm thinking it's less likely now. So I'm just looking for a melt up. Zooming out here, I'll show you where I got the 6,000. If this is 1, 2, usually two waves are about the same. This hits the third wave, so I would take this and put it at the bottom of this, and there you go, 6,000. If it's the same time length as this, we're looking at like September. So another 4 months of melt up into September, and then you would see a pretty nice drop after that into the election. So you'd be looking at potentially a drop back to like 5,400, so about a 10% drop. Based on this, it would take about 3 months. So it'd take us to December, a drop in December, and then January we get our normal melt up. And then that's the end of the fifth wave. Maybe goes up a little bit higher than 6,000, maybe up here to like, who knows, 6,200 or 6,300. And that's the end of the bull market for good. And then you're going to have a huge, huge bear market. So I'm giving this, based on projections, I would give this probably another 10 months of going on. So again, I'm looking for the melt up, but I'm still, it's still possible that it falls this week. So the rut is differently, and I've looked at this a few times, and what I think the most likely scenario on this is, because again, if you zoom out here, I have this labeled as wave 3, but it's not. This is actually the end of wave 1. So I think the rut ended wave 1, and we're just currently waiting to fall. What I think this is, I think this is WXY. Or it could be just an ABC move too. It's probably ABC actually. But this right here is WXY. So how am I getting that? I'm getting that from this. A, B, C, like that. And then this right here didn't take that long, but I think we're ready to go up higher from here. So I think that this might end up being, this is my best guess. This is a very tough one to figure out. W, X, Y, something like that. So if I were to guess where this would end at, I would say very top of here. I would be looking for about 2,400 on the rut. So 2,400 on the rut, the very top of this. And then I'm looking for, it could go higher than that, I guess, too, but that should be probably the top. Yeah, 2,400, and then I'd be looking for a crash, basically, where this could go all the way down to the 1.61 fib. 126.4. Which, that might not even be the bottom too if you have a crazy bear market, but something like that is basically what I'm looking at. So I don't think growth stocks, they probably have another, like just like the overall market, they probably have another 10 months. And this could be wrong too, to be honest. Like, that doesn't really seem right compared to the SPX. This pattern's kind of throwing me off a little bit. And, like, this is clearly AB right here. So we should be in a C wave. The question is this the fourth wave of the C wave or making a fifth wave higher? Or is this WXY? It probably is one of those going to end around 2400. So, and then could that end up being, this could end up being like this too. We could get a bigger move like that. Because if SPX is going to finish the third wave and have a fourth wave, this only makes sense for it to go like this. So potentially something like this over the next 10 months where this goes all the way up to 3,000. That's my best guess, to be honest. I know that's a crazy move, but I'm expecting the dollar to drop significantly, and I'm expecting yields to drop significantly, which is going to be a really big help for growth stocks. So I think growth stocks are going to really pop over the next 10 months. But then, again, that's going to be an expanded flat. An expanded flat, that means it can fall even farther than that. Let's take it now. 1120. Back to COVID lows. So this one's kind of up in the air, but I'm looking for 2400 minimum, and then we'll see what kind of pullback we get. I probably should zoom in here and just look at this on smaller time frames too. So you compare this to SPX. 1, 2, something like that. And there is a demand zone, so it doesn't really need to go all the way to 240. There's a demand or supply zone up here too. It is at, right here is probably one of the places you'd be looking at. Did I make it there yet? No. $22.47 is one of the spots I'd be looking at, and then if it breaks above there, let's just look at the weekly as well. And oh, and you got the weekly up here. That's where I was just talking about. You got this weekly supply zone right here at 23.37. That's right above the target that I just mentioned. So those are the two spots. I think it could end. Well, that's probably not going to be it. All right, let's go over NDX now. So NDX, I'm going to do QQQ. I don't have this one labeled. All right, QQQ. So in my opinion, QQQ has already finished the third wave and probably already finished the fourth wave. So it's in that final melt up. We'll see how this works out though, because this isn't the final melt up, but SPX is not. Then you could potentially get something like this, where this makes a new high here in the next like 4 months. And then when SPX is making its fourth wave and then it makes its fifth wave, you could get an ABC move like this. Expanded flat. So what I'm saying is basically the fifth wave could be happening right here, and it probably is. We're in the middle of it, and then we get that drop with SPX right here for the fourth wave, and then on the fifth wave, this makes a huge B wave, and then that's when it traps everybody, because then you get the crash like that. So That would be my best guess because this is a little bit different than the way SPX is forming. Like I said, this is finishing the third wave, and then this is finishing the fifth wave. So yeah, that is what I think on QQQ, and let's zoom in here now on smaller time frames. Same setup, 1, 2, potentially finish the third wave right here, and I'd be looking at pullback here maybe, and then a fifth wave higher, and then that should be the overall third wave. And then ABC, and then 5 waves higher, and that's your top in QQQ. And I think I drew this parallel line based on the third wave. Maybe not. So anyway, fifth wave coming up here to new high. I would be looking for something probably around 500. Maybe higher than that, maybe 550. And then I'm looking for this pullback into the election. So let's look at the dollar now and just kind of go over where we're at the dollar. Dollar still has not fallen like I want it to, but it is not really looking like a third wave higher either. So I'm still leaning towards this projection, 3, 4, and 5 down here. And this is where it's really going to get crazy. If we do get that melt up, it's going to be crazy if the dollar is falling like this and you have yields falling as well. So I haven't looked at this in a while, but this is what I'm looking at for yields. You got A, B, C like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can see where the dollar and yields are in the exact same spot, basically. Go back to the dollar. And the thing is, if yields go to like 0, then that's obviously not good for the market. But like when it comes down here to like 2 to 3%, that's kind of like a sweet spot overall. So that's my target, this gap fill here at 2.35%. Maybe that's not a gap fill. I think just a target maybe. Let's see. Yeah, that's not a gap fill. This is a target. There's no gap fill on 10-year yield. What am I talking about? So, so yeah, look for this over the next probably 4 or 5 months. I would probably stay long on all your stocks right now because it's coming. I think a lot of people are still thinking we're getting a pullback here, and then they think we're going to run into the election. I'm thinking the opposite. I'm thinking we're going to go up here and then fall into the election. So we'll see what happens, but I showed you all the projections. I have RUT hitting 2400. I have SPX potentially hitting I'm potentially hitting 6,000. QQQ potentially hitting 500 to 550. The dollar hitting down here at 97, and yields hitting down here somewhere between 2 and 2.5%. So that's pretty much it. Just going to do the indexes in this video. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe if you're not already. Let me know what you think. Are we going to get a melt up into July, August, September, or do you think we're going to get that pullback that everyone is saying is going to happen, where QQQ would come down here probably to low 400s, SPX would come down to below 5,000 for a new low potentially, and the RUT would make a probably go down to 1,800. Let's see. Potentially make a new low down here between 1850 and 1940. So anyway, just leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. That's it for this video. Have a good rest of the weekend.